Let's see the system brought down to its knees. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ooh, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm made of thunder, I'm made of lightning, I'm made of dirt, yeah, made of the fine things. My father taught me that I'm a speck of dust and this world was made for me. So let's go and try our luck, said I've got my roots down, 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 down deep. I've got my roots down, 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 down deep. I've got my roots down, down, down deep. I've got my roots down, down, down deep. So what are we doing here? What has been done? What are you gonna do about it when the world comes undone? My voice feels tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty
Oh.
I am resilient, I trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen.
Welcome, everybody. How are you all doing tonight? I'm Starhawk, and delighted to welcome you to our Harvesting Resilience event. We have some wonderful people here with us. So I want to introduce you to Charles Williams, who is our co-director at Earth Activist Training and a kind of co-lead teacher. To Penny Livingston, who is my first permaculture teacher and is doing some amazing work all over the world. And Lakota McRoberts, who is one of our A students who's been doing great work with indigenous villages in Alaska. And you'll get a chance to hear from us all through the evening, and we'll be doing some resilience ritual, and hopefully we will have a good time. But to begin with, Charles, unless you have some announcements or housekeeping, I'd like to start by acknowledging that I am here on the hereditary lands of the Kashaya Pomo. This is land that has an incredible history and heritage of art, of culture, of ceremony, of song, basket making. The Kashaya have been known as the most amazing basket makers in the world, with their level of skill and artistry and healing traditions here. They have some amazing traditional healers that have come from this tribe. And for many, many years, they were reduced to a little 40-acre rancheria. But in recent years, they have gotten a big chunk of land back on the coast, which is really wonderful. because it gives them access to some of their traditional gathering and fishing grounds once again. This land has also suffered colonization this was actually the furthest south the Russians got on the west coast when they were coming down from Alaska, hunting sea otters and seals. And they established a fort called Fort Ross. But later the colonization passed to the Californians and then the United States when California became a state. So it is really a great victory that the Kashaya are getting some of their land back. And I feel really blessed and honored to be able to live here in an incredibly beautiful part of the world and hopefully be a good ally of the traditional peoples here. And I see a lot of you have put in the chat the name of the indigenous people that whose land you're on, and I appreciate that. I think it's really important, and important also not just to do the acknowledgement, but also to find ways to actively support the very real struggles that indigenous people are having all over the world to preserve land and traditions and languages and culture. So thank you all for joining us. And I invite you all to get comfortable, take a breath, get yourself well seated. We always like to begin with a grounding and creating sacred space. So we're going to create a circle after we ground and call in the elements. So taking a breath, ground. And imagine yourself like a tree with roots that go down into the earth. As you breathe in and breathe out, you can feel those roots pushing down through the soil, down through the mud and the rock, down through the waters that are held in the earth, down through the bedrock, all the way down to the heart of fire at the very core of the earth. And as you take a breath, just release into that fire anything you want to let go of. With your body, you can do it with a sigh, like, ah. And one more time, ah. Maybe a third time, just ah. And then feel that fiery heart of the earth as it bathes those roots. And as you breathe deep, take a breath and draw some of that energy up. That pure living fire that's the earth's creative energy. And imagine you can breathe it up through all those layers of soil and mud and bedrock and gravel and rock and water. Breathe it up into your feet and legs, up into the base of your spine and your belly, up your spine, as if your spine were a nice flexible tree trunk. Breathe it up into your heart. Feel your heart open and expand. Down through your arms and hands, and up and out the top of your head like a fountain of branches that reach up to the sky, sweep all the way back down to touch the earth. And then feel that sky energy that's out there. Maybe for some of you, the moon is up already. Maybe for some of you, it's starlight or clouds. Maybe there's some of you in Hawaii or somewhere where it's still sunlight. But take a breath and just breathe in that energy from above, that sky energy, that celestial energy. Take a breath and breathe it in, breathe it down, down through your leaves and branches, down the top of your head. Down to your heart, your hands, and your belly. All the way down into the earth. You can feel that energy coming up and through you, and down and through you. And feel it meet in you, and feel yourself as the center between earth and sky. And then just put a little circle of light around yourself. And blessed be.
In that grounded place, let's create our circle. If we were together in person, we might be standing in a circle together where we could see each other. And just imagine what that'd be to be there. But we're in our virtual circle right now. And there's some place that's halfway between me and you, or you and your screen, or that place. And in that place, that point is where our circle begins. And I invite you just to grab a hold of that point right there and just to peel open a little circle, like you're unraveling a little piece of yarn into a circle, and put a little over top of the other side and a little over top of us. Push the edges out a little bit. We can sit in a circle all together, even though we're far apart. So welcome to our circle. Welcome to this Harvesting Resilience event. It's good to see you all. And into that, let's call our elements. The elements of resilience. Let's call in thought, having clear thoughts, and the ability to discern good action. Part of resilience. Just call in that clear thinking, clear seeing, and good discernment. So, welcome to air. Let's call in fire. Let's call in the energy and passion, the energy to do what needs to be done, to stand in place when all sorts of things are happening around us, and the passion to move forward with the things that we care about and move to the light that is what is our calling. So I call in fire. I call in water, element of water in the form of hope, which I think we always need in our lives. Hope and trust and love, and those things that keep us healthy as we journey through life. So welcome water. And to earth, to practical action, to taking action to meet our needs and the needs of our community, to respond to things around us. So I call to earth, practical action, to come join us tonight. I call to spirit, center, faith. We call to the spirits to help us in the great unfolding and the processes we're in, strength and guidance, and our spiritual allies. So I call to center, spirit, to join us tonight. So welcome to Elements. Welcome to you. Welcome to our event tonight.
Thank you, Charles. I'd like to take a moment now and give Penny and Lakota a chance to just say a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Do we talk about our work, or do you want to?
Um, yeah,
Okay.
and maybe how resilience is part of your work. What does resilience mean to you?
Okay. Well, right now I'm drinking elderberry syrup that I just made from my elderberries that I grew in my garden because I have a little bit of laryngitis. So you'll notice that when I'm talking, but I can talk. Um, so for me, I'm semi-retired now, and I rather than I'm not building institutions anymore. I'm supporting existing initiatives and what people are doing here. I recently moved to Whidbey Island, which is the ancestral lands of the Snohomish people. And the Salish name for Whidbey Island is Chekolchi. And because Whidbey was named after some captain, somebody. And Chekolchi is the name of this island from the people that live all around the Puget Sound area. So I'm in Western Washington state. So here, since I've moved here, I've been part of a group called Whidbey Climate Action, which is mostly elders. There's a lot of active elders here, and they're really doing a lot of education work. I created I kind of was kind of my brainstorm of creating Whidbey Conversations, where we get together once a month and do a short presentation, maybe 20-minute presentation, and then everybody breaks into groups and talks about it. And I'll tell you what, it's the closest thing to a permaculture course. It's like a live permaculture course. There's people now that are, we talked about like where our waste goes when you throw something away. Where is the away? Well, it happens to be all the way down in Southern Oregon.
Wow.
And we got enlightened about that. And now there's a group called Repurpose. And I don't create any garbage, because all this stuff, including like styrofoam and all different kind of plastics, they have found ways to repurpose. And there are all these young people that are just on fire. And so like tomorrow they're having a repair festival where you can bring anything in that you need repaired, and there's people there. So this community is just very much alive. I am going to be speaking. It's interesting. I love, Charles, your relationship, sharing about the elements, because part of what I'm going to be speaking about at the EcoForm conference in January is being in right relationship with the elements. And so that's kind of, given climate change and all these extreme conditions, and it's a holistic approach that we have to really think like a watershed, how to be in right relationship with the elements. And I'm doing a lot of disaster preparedness work within my neighborhood and in my community. But really what it comes down to is community, and we can't do this alone. And so much of this is systemic. So I've been elected to the Whidbey Island Conservation District, where it helps farmers and gives money to help farmers support land and do the right thing. And in kind of like being a little Trojan horse, because they're really intrigued by what it is I carry through the permaculture world and through that level of resilience. So I could go on. I'll stop now, but there's a lot, so many opportunities right now, because the world is really wanting to hear what kind of solutions we can carry. And the further afield and the more kind of broad area mainstream culture that we can work within, I think the more successful we'll be. So I'm out of my bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm working in the real world. Yeah, there's some Republican, there's all kinds of people that don't think like me, but when it comes to certain things, we're finding common ground.
Thank you, Penny. Well, and we will come back to you and hear more about some of the wonderful work you've done over time, too. Lakota, want to introduce yourself and tell us what resilience means to you?
Hi everyone, my name's Lakota McRoberts. I am Otna Athabaskan and Iroquois. So I was like looking what I Googled the definition of resilience, and it says resilience is the ability to withstand challenges, adapt to change and recovery, and grow stronger after difficulties. So when I thought about that, I was like, what does resilience mean to me specifically? And so I thought there and thought, well, for me, resilience means honoring the land, the community, and yourself by continuing to learn and adapt and serve even when the work is really hard. It's the strength to steward our watershed with care, to support people through education and connection, and to hold on to purpose while navigating challenges. It's rooted in culture, responsibility, and commitment to leave your community healthier and more empowered than when you found it.
Thank you. Wow, that's beautiful. I would love to get a copy of that. Or maybe
I
have you
can,
put it in the chat too.
yeah, I can
I'd
send
have
it
to
to
go
you.
back and read it again. That's. How about you, Charles? Mm.
Resilience is many things. I was looking around, like, oh, so what it really struck me as resilience, and there's a couple of images that came to mind. One is I lived in Missouri. Where I lived in Missouri, there was this amazing apple tree, like a big old standard apple. I don't know if you know the different size apples, like one of those big ones, like you don't see very in a big field tree, big, like, and it was doing its apple thing, like putting out lots of apples, had lots of leaves, like birds and insects, and the deer would come in the fall, like, it's like very alive. And had withstand storms, like all sorts of storms come through and knock out the trees down, but this one had stayed, and kids had climbed in it, and some branches were broken, but it was still going, like there was whatever, like they survived, somebody backed a truck into it, like it was one of these trees. It's just like survived. It was really resilient. Like it sprung back from whatever kind of came, whether it was too many pests this year or a drought year or a big storm. It was always seeming to come back. And later on, it ended up falling over. Like big storm, very wet soils. You might have seen a tree to do this before. Comes down. Oh no, the apple tree, it's its last legs. But then, next spring, like it turns and puts up all these shoots off the trunk. So the trunk's like down, the branches are down, like the deer's eating all the leaves off it. But then off the trunk comes all these like shoots that come up into the air. And like now it's like a hedge of apple. Like it's like a gigantic apple hedge that's like, and it just continues living. Like that, I think, is this resilience, this idea that kind of this withstanding the disturbance that's out there, like all this disturbance, kind of withstanding the disturbance. But when the disturbance even gets like too much, like it still is doing its thing. It's still doing its apple thing, which is to reach toward the light, provide habitat, and make food. Like I think that's for me what I see resilience in my communities too. Like people, withstanding all of the pressures that are on them, and even when it gets too much and they kind of get knocked off center, like they still kind of come back and spring back to life, maybe in a slightly different form, but still doing the work they need to do. Like whatever that is, whether it's parents, parenting kids, or whether it's people growing gardens, or, people, doing their life calling. Maybe it's making music. I don't know what it is, but like to see these communities kind of like resisting change, resisting that disturbance that happens, but also being able to spring back from it. And I think Lakota said it really well. It's all the support that happens within that. It's not like every individual is like a separate. There's like this kind of the group kind of supports itself to right itself again and kind of continue on. So, see that is what I see as resilience, this ability to withstand the disturbance, but also spring back afterwards, even when things have shifted.
Thank you, Charles. It's really striking me how much all three of you have spoken about resilience in the context of community and how important community is, I think, in our ability to withstand challenges and hard times. I think you've done a great job at defining resilience. For me, I think now is a time we need resilience more than ever because we are all suffering so many assaults and traumas, and um, we are at the mercy of forces that want to take away all the supports that we've laboriously put into place for people over decades to help people survive hard times. And I think there's a kind of really short-sighted arrogance in that that doesn't recognize that we all go through hard times. It doesn't matter how privileged you are. It doesn't matter if you are, a billionaire. I think Joyce Carol Oates put out something about Elon Musk saying, this guy is like the most unhappy person on the face of the earth. With all his billions, he doesn't seem to know like how to enjoy, the simple beauty of nature. Doesn't seem to have any friends. He's not been a father to his children. He's seems like a pretty miserable person. And I think part of that is out of the assumption that, somehow if you think you're entitled to go through life without suffering any losses or having any setbacks or trying something that might fail or getting whomped by some major storm, sooner or later life will teach you that lesson. You're not. And because of that, we need each other. None of us gets through this alone. And we not only need each other, but it is one of the permaculture principles and one of the principles of ecology that it's diversity that generates resilience. If we have diversity in the people that we know, if we have diversity of ideas, of heritages, of cultures, of languages, of backgrounds, then we actually are more intelligent because we see the world from a broader range of perspectives. So that to me is part of what resilience means and why we need it at this moment, and also how it connects to the diversity scholarships that are the recipients of tonight's fundraising. Because we have found in Earth Activist training that supporting diversity among our students actually is something that helps the resilience of the entire permaculture movement and of our organization, and so vitally important. Penny, I see you have some thoughts to add.
Yeah, just on that note, I want to, make it really clear that diversity scholarships is not charity.
Yeah.
It's not like this gift. It's so important to have those voices, particularly in a permaculture course. I mean, I can't speak for everything, but it's without having diversity of worldviews and opinions and perspectives like you're mentioning, it really wouldn't be a very good permaculture course.
Yeah.
And Earth Activist training has really done so much to step up to create that in that program. To your credit.
Thank you. So we have a lot more we want to say and share and talk about, but I'd like to actually lead us on a little resilience meditation journey, because I've learned it's good to not leave it to the very end because we can talk forever. But it's nice to get the ritual part in where I'm not worried about the clock running out on it. So take a breath and just settle yourself and get comfy. You can close your eyes if you want to, or you can keep them open. And I'm gonna sing us in. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. So stir with me, stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. So take a breath, and as you're stirring, I'd like you to imagine that you are making yourself a big soup pot of some kind of fabulous healing broth. Whatever it is that works for you. Maybe it's bone broth. Maybe if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, maybe it's herbs and vegetables. Maybe it's got some seaweed in it. Whatever it is that you feel nourishes your healing. And as you stir, I'd like you to think about a time in your life, maybe when you have healed from something. Maybe you were sick. Maybe you broke a leg, or you were injured in some way. Maybe it was more of an emotional wound. You know, in San Francisco right now, there's some kind of billboard campaign showing, each one will show the face of some happy looking person, and it'll say, "I'm living proof that treatment works." And if you think about it, we are all living proof that healing works. So as you breathe, just imagine that you can remember that feeling of what it's like when you've been sick to wake up and suddenly, like, the fever is gone. Or that broken bone has healed and you take that step without a cast for the first time. Or you finally got out of that really bad relationship and you take a breath and look back and kind of go, whoa, whew, I never have to do that again. And imagine you can stir that into this brew so that the brew becomes infused with it, filled with it, and carries it. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. And as you take a breath, I invite you to begin to drink some of this healing broth, whatever it is for you. Maybe you dip a cup in and sip from it. Maybe you hold the whole thing up to your lips. And let yourself feel the weight in your hand and take a deep sniff in and notice what you smell. And how that smell kind of gets inside you. When you breathe it in, you're literally breathing in the molecules, taking them into your lungs and sending them out through your bloodstream. You can put it up to your lips, feel the heat, and now taste some of that. And taste, how does it feel in your mouth and on your tongue? And what does it feel like when you swallow it down and feel that warmth infusing you and going through every part of your body? And it's like it finds that resilience that's already there in your cells and kind of binds to it and amplifies it. Finds those places of resilience in your heart. Strengthens them. And as you drink it in, it's like a magic potion. And all of a sudden, it's as if a new world opens up in front of you. And you find yourself in a landscape of resilience. And breathe deep in and out and just look at where you are. What has resilience looked like to you when you see it and feel it on the land? Take a deep sniff in and notice what you smell. Is it that pungent smell of the pine woods, or is it that salt spray of the ocean? Maybe it's a flower or the smell of ripe fruit, whatever it is for you. Breathe it in, take it in. Look around you, notice what you see in all the directions. As you look around in this place, you'll find that at the center of this beautiful land, there is a well. It might look to you like a natural spring just bubbling up out of the earth. It might have some kind of structure around it or sculpture. It might look like something very ancient, or it might look like something very new. But just take a breath and let yourself find this well for yourself, this well of resilience. And take a moment and look into it. As you breathe in and breathe out, I'd like you to think right now about where is it in your life right now that you need resilience? Whether it's personal or whether it's our collective lives, what is it we need to be able to come back from and respond to and bounce back from? And what is it that you need to be able to do that? Imagine looking deep, deep into that well. Very, very clear water that goes down and down. And just notice what you see and feel in that well. Does it reveal to you any helpers, any supports, any sources of resilience? Are there any places within you that you need to renew? Any places that need physical healing, spiritual or emotional healing? You can bathe in the water of that well. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. So take a deep breath now, again. And as you breathe, let yourself reach in and just bathe in some of that water. Drink it in, take it in. And feel that sense of renewal and regeneration. Can you feel where you can hold that in your body, and can you touch that place and create a little bit of an anchor? So a place in your body you can touch, or a movement you can make, maybe it's a kind of breath, but a way to anchor this connection to the source of resilience so that you can call on it when you need it. And is there something you can visualize? Is there an image that comes to you in this well that, again, you can use as part of this anchor that you can hold in your mind when you need to connect to your resilience? And is there a word or phrase you can say, something you can say to yourself, maybe part of a song, sound, something you can use as a call to call these forces of resilience to you. And just take a breath and use these three together. And let's sing a little power into them. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. As you take a breath, imagine we can send this resilience out. Let's send some out, some of this beautiful healing energy to those people that need it so much in this earth. And the people like those villages in Alaska who suffered from the typhoon, like our friends and communities in Jamaica who right now are recovering from the hurricane, and to the people in Gaza who've been under so much assault, to the people of the Sudan who are struggling so hard right now just to survive. To the people in Ukraine and all over the world who are in war zones, who are suffering hunger and famine. We know that human beings are resilient. We want to create a world where they don't have to be quite so resilient, where life can be just a little bit easier, more abundant, more nurturing for all. Stir and stir and stir the brew, power to heal and to renew. Children of the living earth, from decay will come rebirth. So take a deep breath in and out. And remember this anchor that you've created now. You have these three things: the place you can touch, the thing you visualize, the word or phrase you can say when you need to call some resilience, some strength, some healing for yourself. And now as the drum fades away, let's bring ourselves back into our physical bodies, patting the edges of your body, noticing how you're sitting, how the weight feels. Taking a deep sniff in, notice what you smell and taste. As the drum fades away, now notice what you hear. Open your eyes and notice what you see. And welcome back. And let's just take maybe a moment to sit with it, journal about it, use that anchor, bring yourself into yourself, and honor the resilience that each of us has. So, speaking of resilience, Penny, I just remember during COVID that you ended up in Peru in the Sacred Valley, sort of stuck there for quite a long time. And I wonder if you'd like to speak a bit about what you learned and what kind of resilience you saw in the people there.
Yeah, well, I'd been working there on and off since 2015, and it's Peru, the history there is pretty interesting. I learned a lot, like, so part of what I was working on when I was there was a map, making a map. We were kind of doing a project from the glacier to the river and linking the different elevations together, like as a watershed. And the elders were like, oh, the young people, they don't really care about learning anything. And I said, well, they might not care now, but they're going to care. You know, there'll be a time. And this map was to be used as a tool that the elders could then point out and go, oh, here, you know, you can actually grow coffee in this valley. And here's where this thing happened historically. And here, and it was interesting because this elder, who I asked him to work on the map with me to help me show about the water and everything on the land. And he says, but before I do that, you have to hear the story. And he tells me this whole story that I did not know, that in Peru there was an agricultural revolution that happened from 1940 to 1970 for 30 years. It turned out the elite, the wealthy people, were controlling the people, the farmers and everybody, by controlling the water. And if you weren't in cahoots with the haciendas, it's kind of similar to Mexico in a lot of ways, but different, but similar. You know, with these big haciendas, and they would hole up where the water sources were and control the water. And took 30 years, but they won. So in around 1970, 71, the land went back. The haciendas were broken up and the land went back to the people. But if you think about what was happening in 1970, it was in the throes of the Green Revolution, right? So the people get their land back, and the universities and the governments are all promoting, oh, this is how you grow corn. Spray, 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 harvest, spray, 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 harvest. And so when I first went there, a lot of the local people were going, oh, you can't grow corn organically. It's impossible. And at first I thought, well, that's BS, you know, because once upon a time, but then when I looked at their soil, I thought, you know, they're probably right, because they completely destroyed their soil. So the only way that I could talk, you know, me little woman from America until I'm blue in the face. But what we did is my friend, a Peruvian friend, had some land, and it took us 2 years. The first year we fed the land. The second year we actually grew this incredible crop of choclo corn, which is this big kerneled corn that's a real favorite of the people there. And we took it to a gathering and served it to the community, where they got to eat the corn themselves. And that's what did it. It wasn't about talking, it was about doing. It's about walking the talk. And so as a result, when I got stuck in Peru, the elders and the farmers asked me to teach them, because they didn't have access to universities. They only, you know, they didn't all. So what I started teaching them was biology and the magic of the biota in the soil and the power of the fungi. And I even had, you know, some electron microscopic videos and photography of the biology. And I said, when you spray, you're killing everything. There's only this many, you can count on your hand bad bugs that might hurt your crops, but there's billions of good bugs that you're killing. And without them, you can't grow corn organically. So as a result, they started making these bio brews. They were making bokashi and all different kinds of different ferments and compost tea. And we just had these sessions of building soil, and they got it. And so now I am on the board of an organization there called Sweet Child Peru, where there's a couple, and they're actually coming to the Eco Farm Conference. I think they're gonna speak with me. There's a pre-conference at the Eco Farm on January 21st on Wednesday, and they're gonna come and speak about their work, but he is like the Alan Chadwick of Peru. He's British and she's Peruvian. And she's known throughout the Sacred Valley as the green hero because of initiatives she's been working on and doing for years with kids and with community. And then they're married, and they have this organization called Sweet Child Peru. You can look them up, and they're teaching now. They're now in the schools. They're teaching children how to grow food organically. And because one of the elders said, oh yeah, you can grow food organically, but it's not going to be as big as the other kind of vegetables. I'm like, not true. And he's proving it. He's growing broccolis like this. And so that's one piece. And then the other piece, as a visitor there, when I got there, I was teaching a permaculture course, and the way I started the course was saying, I come to this place, I'm in the Sacred Valley, and I see soil that's incredible. It's just like this glacial tilth soil. I see water pouring out of the mountains. I see a climate that I've never planted a garden where I was growing avocados and blueberries in the same area. And 2 hours away, you've got your coconuts and your mangoes, and you're the home of the superfood. And, they've got yacon and mashua and all these incredible tubers, Indian tubers, maca. And I said, but when I come here, the stories I'm hearing are about poverty and malnutrition. I'm like, what's up with that? And then we embarked on, there was the permaculture course, that one had about 8 or 9 Quechua farmers. And then they had, some Peruvians from the jungle and local Peruvians. And then there were some expats, and then there were some visitors. So it was a very diverse course. And at the end, I put the Quechua people all in one group because of the language, so they could speak to each other. And they presented their design project. And at the end of their design project, this guy says, Penny, he says, I just want to thank you. He says, we had been colonized for so long, we forgot how rich we are. And then these women farmers said, so many people come here and they just take, tourists and visitors. But she said, but you came here and you brought us something. And she said, we're going to do this. And within a year after that, these women farmers, there was about 4 of them, started a CSA thing called Canasta Verde, because they were in the market. And I said, and people were going, well, I don't know who to buy from. I said, you guys don't need to compete with each other. You should be able to sell everything you produce. And they started Canasta Verde. So when I got stuck there in 2013, I was a recipient. Every week I got delivered a whole canasta basket of organic vegetables to my door from them. And they were selling everything because they were organic. And the people that were growing the monoculture pesticide strawberries during the pandemic were going under because they couldn't get rid of their produce, because the whole country had shut down and they couldn't export things. So the people that were growing food for the local community were thriving through the whole pandemic. And I could walk across the field and go get milk fresh out of a cow and eggs that were still warm and this organic food. So it was ironic that I got to become the recipient of this work that had happened, 2 or 3 years prior. And so, I mean, to me, that is an example of resilience. And to this day, they're still thriving.
I would say it's also a perfect example of karma, right?
Yeah, right. But these
In a good
children-
way.
But the children that the Sweet Child Peru, Thomas and Diana were working with were the marginalized children from the high Andes.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a culture that at one point had enough food to feed every person for 2 years at any one time.
Wow.
And a month into the pandemic, they were starving.
Mm.
So another thing that happened was between the expats and people like me who were stuck there, the Westerners or the people that had,
Mhm.
money, and the locals who had connection, we banded together and they had 10 horses that they loaded food on and hiked it up into the mountains
Mm.
for the people. And at that point, something broke, or I don't want to say broke, something opened up
Mhm.
between the local Quechua people and the Westerners or the Northern people. There's a lot of expats who were, and then people like me who were stuck there, where we realized we're all in this together.
Mm.
And this trust was built and this camaraderie was created. And there was like a WhatsApp group with everybody. And it was mostly in Spanish, but the whole village got organized. And people that hadn't really known each other before,
Mhm.
had been living together maybe for a few years, didn't know each other, or now, knew each other. It was really quite something to have the shutdown.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one snippet of a story. There's so many.
Thank you. It's really inspiring, and I think it really, again, hits home how important community is in resilience.
Yeah.
Lakota, it also hits home how important food is. It's hard to be resilient if you're hungry, starving. And I know Lakota's been doing work on food security, and I'd love to have you tell us some about that, and also how people are dealing with the typhoon and what's been happening up there.
Sure. Wonder if I can share my screen. Oops.
Yeah.
Can everyone see my slide okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I am Lakota. I am the agriculture specialist and food sovereignty coordinator at the Copper River Native Association. I also contract with the Copper River Watershed Project to do restoration work on our watershed. So here's some pictures of kind of so this is the area I'm from. I'm from Alaska. I'm Otna Athabascan, so we're right here in the Otna area, kind of dead center of it. This is a picture of the town I'm from. The population is really, really small, but we have a lot of surrounding villages that we serve. In total, we serve 6 technically, but we really serve about 8 villages. And so food sovereignty is one thing I'm really, really passionate about. And what is food sovereignty? Food sovereignty is the right for people to have healthy, cultural, appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, which is something I feel like permaculture really, it really shows when you're doing permaculture work. I feel like it embodies food sovereignty, and food sovereignty is something that Indigenous people have been practicing and doing since time immemorial. And so keeping that at the heart of my work, we have the, oops, We have the community garden, which is where the car is parked on the map. There's about 300 acres there that the CRNA has gotten back. This used to be Taslina land for the Otna people, and so they recently got back that property, and we started developing it into a community garden for everybody. And here's some pictures of what it does. And at the garden, we host a lot of workshops for the youth and community members, teaching them permaculture practices and how to grow healthy food. Living in Glen Allen, we don't really have access to a lot of healthy produce. Usually by the time it gets to us, it's pretty bad. And by the time you buy it from the store, you have like a couple days to eat it. So trying to teach people that you can grow your own food even in a really cold environment, and teaching them that it could be very sustainable and you don't have to have a lot of things to do it. A lot of these beds are made out of, I can't think of what they're called right now, pallets. They're made out of pallets. So it's recycle, reuse, anything that we can find, we kind of use in the garden. We also host a lot of workshops teaching people, about berries that they can eat, mushrooms that they can eat, how to ethically harvest them. Because when you're going out, you don't want to just pick everything in one area. You want to think about, what can I take that I need to survive and leave so that there's more to grow and more for others to take. So keeping that in mind whenever we're harvesting. Collecting all the food, and all the food that we grow at the garden is donated to the food bank and is served back out to our local community members. We probably serve about 148 families, which is anywhere from 200 to 300 individual people. And I have a feeling with the SNAP cuts and everything, we'll be seeing a lot more. And along with that, we've been doing pickling classes and jamming classes and salmon canning classes, or teaching people how to properly fillet a salmon. There's different ways, but for us, there's one way that we prefer to do it. So teaching the youth, especially the Otna youth, how the Otna people used to do it. So and then canning that so that we have it for winters to come or years if need be. If for some reason we don't have access to food, making sure that our pantries are fully stocked. And we smoke our salmon in a smokehouse. Some people use little smokers, but a lot of times the community will get together and we'll use like one person's smokehouse and do a big smoke. This is the food bank where all the food is kind of donated out of. This is our local food hub. And with the typhoons that's been going on, we were able to kind of do like a little base. And we had a lot of our community members come and donate clothes and hygiene products, flashlights, totes, bags. We probably took about 30 totes full of supplies into acreage that was going to be donated to the villages that were affected by the typhoon, which was really, really cool to see everyone in the community pulling together for people that were in such need. It was really sad to see what happened. So many homes were destroyed, so many things lost. So trying to help out the best we can. And keeping that in mind, I also do a lot of work with restoration work and realizing that not only do we grow our food, but our food is all around us. Not only just food, but medicines, and trying to find a way to be more self-sufficient. The villages that were affected, they can't really get a lot of things in unless it's dropped off by an airplane. So learning this so that I can share my knowledge with other people and inspire other Indigenous youth to research their history and their culture and realize that we have everything we need to survive with us. We just need to go out and do the harder work and harvest it and turn it into medicines, and not go through the process of buying everything. we were able to do some really nice restoration work at the Little Tonsina River. We planted about this slide is from last year, but this year we were able to plant over 1,000 native plants, including berries and other medicinal plants, so that now this area is rehabilitated and you can go out and harvest foods and things from it. It used to look very bland. What happened is they took out a culvert and put in a bridge to open it up for salmon habitat. And after they did that, they took away all the ecosystem. So there was no plants, there was no vitality to the soil, which doesn't make it really good for salmon habitats. So I kind of went in with about 33 community members, and there were about 6 different tribes that helped, and we planted plants and went to town restoring the ecosystem here. And thinking about plants and trying to be more self-sufficient and self-stable got me a little more into wanting to study medicinal medicine. So I took a Braveheart Fellowship, and they were able to help fund me and getting to talk to local elders and learning and studying medicinal Atna medicine and figuring out what plants we can use, what we can eat, what we can turn into medicines. And I feel like this really embodies resilience, because it's showing that even from really hard times, we can come back with our culture and still be able to provide for our community members, our villages, our people. And one thing that comes with resilience is bringing back the language, the Atna language. There's probably about 20 fluent speakers. It's a really lost language now, sadly. Not a lot of people practice it, but this is a huge part of our culture. So trying to bring it back to youth, because not knowing your language is an identity piece that you're missing. And I feel like you should, by embracing your local language or your own language, you're bringing a part back to yourself that you've lost. And one of our local plants, the fireweed, it's called Klakuska, is what the Atna calls it. And it means endurance and rebirth, which is because after a fire or after really bad storms, the first plant that usually comes in and grows is fireweed. So it is very resilient. It's hardy to the freezing, like -60 weather. It survives through burning flames, and it's really beautiful to see. So I feel like fireweed really embodies resilience for us. And when I think about the work I'm doing, I like to imagine myself as a fireweed and bringing back culture and being able to withstand some people who might not be as excited about it. There's blueberry, which is Gigiweli, which means favorite foods of all ages. I'm practicing how to say yarrow. I can't quite say it yet. And then clochin is wormwood, which will be our ceremony. It would be our local sage for us. So we use it for cleansings and things like that. And this is why it's all important. Healing native plants thrive naturally. Rekindling our relationship with nature is essential for ethical and sustainable healing. Teach and practice indigenous plant-based healing. Move away from colonized views of medicine and embrace sustainability. A lot of medicine you go to the pharmacy for, they interact with each other. Some have tons of bad side effects. And the cool thing about a lot of medicinal plants is they don't have as many side effects. So bringing back a healthier way of living, not only that, but just by going outside and interacting with your ecosystem, you're being physical, you're getting healthier just by being active. Nature bathing, which is mentally healing. Starhawk took us through that beautiful meditation, and just going out and being in nature for me is kind of like that. That's my version of meditation. And so connection to food is medicine. What you eat is how you feel. And I'm a strong believer of that. So when I think about being healthier and bringing food to everybody, it's more than just what you eat. It's more than just going to the store. It's a whole way of life. It's a whole way of reconnecting to everything around you, to the people, to the food, and to the animals. So it's really important to me. And one thing I like to think of about the community is if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So that's something my grandma always said to me. And so I take that a lot into the work I do. And I love hosting classes and lunch and learns so that everyone can kind of get the chance to learn and that I'm not just harboring all this information for myself. And Shanann, thank you. It's if there's any questions, feel free to ask. Sorry, I got a little tongue tied there.
Thank you. Yeah, I think if you want to stop sharing, we can see everybody. And actually, the first question I want to ask is how can we support some of the efforts to give some mutual aid to the folks who've lost their homes and suffered so much in the typhoon?
So there are a couple groups. I can find their names and put them in the chat that if you want to donate to, or I know the hospital in Anchorage, ANTHC, is doing a lot of the coordinating. So if you want to get in contact with them, they will take any kind of supplies. If you want to like buy something on Amazon and ship it to them, they can get it. We've had a lot of people doing that. So really anything, or even just thoughts, mind, prayers, whatever you can have to give to the community members in the typhoon really, really helps. A lot of them lost their homes and they've been kind of disheveled. Most of them are in Anchorage, and that's where a lot of the help is going to. So I'll get those contacts and I can put them in the chat.
Thank you. So I'm sure that people would like to help out, and that's one of the ways we sort of ground the magic is by doing something in the material world that makes that resilience real. I wonder if other people have questions for Lakota or Penny or any of us. You can use the raise hand. If you go to the little heart that says react, you can raise a hand and then your little rectangle jumps to the front, or you can just visibly raise a hand and hopefully we will see it. Erica.
Thank you so much, Lakota. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Really fills my heart with hope to hear you talking about what you're doing. I'm curious if you can describe the way that your work is being received by young people. I want to be able to picture this growing and becoming full. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's being received?
Yeah. So there's one teen I'm really impressed with. He's one of our youth workers that we hire in the summer. And this year was his second year working with us. But the first year, he hated getting in the dirt. He was like, I'm gonna ruin my new shoes. They're Nikes. I just spent $200 on them, you know. And this year he was taking off his shoes and getting in the dirt and digging holes to put potatoes in and getting excited about finding them. And he was the one person I could call and ask if I had to leave for some reason. He would go water and take care of the garden for me.
Mhm.
So it's just getting them to reconnect with that land and realizing that they don't need everything from the store. They don't need the best brands or the high-end things or to spend a lot of money, but they can find happiness in the smaller things. And if you show them the amazing work they're doing, like he's volunteered in the food bank, so he's gotten to like hand people food and got thanked by them and helped his elders and saw that he was helping people in his community. And I think that really, really helped him realize that he was doing so much more than just helping himself, that he was helping a bigger picture of life. So getting the youth to really understand that it's more than just themselves and more than just their family, that they are really important and the work they do is really important, I think gets them more excited about what they're doing. And that's where you really see the change.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? Lakota, you're reminding me of when we taught permaculture in Bayview Hunters Point in inner city San Francisco. We had a group of youth from who lived in public housing, and I just remember we had a day of garden tours, and it was a rainy day, and things were messy and muddy, and one of the young guys showed up in these like brilliantly white tennis shoes that were some brand, and fabulously expensive, and like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I got 2 plastic bags and rubber banded them around his feet so he could come on the tour without ruining his beautiful shoes.
Actually kind of smart. A good way to protect the shoes.
Uh-huh.
Another thing I'm thinking about is in Bishop, California, there's the Paiute Food Sovereignty Program there.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you're familiar with their work, Lakota, because it might be nice to connect with them too. They're doing really similar things.
Mhm.
But one of the things I saw when I went to the Elder Garden that I didn't hear you mention is the first thing I saw was this giant rack for processing animals.
Mhm.
It was amazing. And then they also had a aquaponics system there too. And they're in the desert, right?
Mhm.
So that probably more appropriate there.
Oh, wow. I actually haven't heard, but I'd love to connect with them and to talk more.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find their website. And but they're doing really great work. And again, one of the things that also happened there is there was a guy, he's passed away, but his name was Harry Williams, and this is in Owens Valley in the east of LA. And what happened was that place was a wetland, and Los Angeles took all their water, actually using permaculture techniques. They used the keyline system to do it. But yeah, so it became a desert. And so this guy, Harry Williams, has been mapping out all the old irrigation ditches and everything, so that, and one of the things that impressed me was that they've got the long arc vision. They're looking 500 years down the road or 200 years down the road. And one of the elders said, we were kind of having this closing circle. He said, what if it's a good thing they took our water? We all kind of went, what? He says, maybe it was a good thing they took our water, because if they hadn't, it would have probably been developed into this big subdivision, suburban, place, or, it would have been developed into this other thing. So now what's happening is they don't have the water, but they're planning for when the water's coming back, because they know that water is going to come back someday. Because they're just basically sequestering it at the base of the mountain and shunting it somewhere else. But its natural flow is still back to them. Anyway, I just was so inspired by that point of view of the long vision.
Well, thank you. Patricia.
Um, yeah, I wanted to thank you, Penny, for talking about the situation in Peru that you were working with back in the 70s. Um, I was raised in Eastern Washington in the Columbia River irrigation area. My father was USDA. And he traveled around the world spreading the Green Revolution. I grew up, my science fair projects were working with pesticides and herbicides, and I was like bathing in it. And of course, I'm the generation that got sprayed with DDT in the pool and such. And to hear the resilience, right? To hear about the areas that were devastated by, what the harm we wrought. And my father was a good man and wanted to stop hunger, right? We wanted to grow more food and all this. So the intention of a lot of the individuals was good, but of course the government program was not necessarily well-intentioned, right? So when I got back to permaculture, I felt sins of the father. So I'm doing permaculture to make up for, or to try to help heal, the damage that was done. And it's so wonderful to hear that the land has been healed from that. My father was never in Peru; he was in Chile. In Chile. So thank you for sharing that, and we can come back.
Yeah, I consider us to be the probiotics of the earth.
Uh-huh.
The offsprings of the fathers are now, being the ones going out
Uh-huh.
healing.
Right.
Well, we could go on for hours with this, but we've kind of reached the end of our time. I don't know if you have any last thoughts, Charles or Penny or Lakota.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate getting to share, and I love being in this circle with all of you. And if we all keep doing the great work we're all doing, eventually we'll have a better planet.
Thank you.
I think Sharon had one last thing.
Yeah.
I do. Oh my, I needed this desperately. I feel so nourished from all of what was said here today. Thank you. And that song, I will chant that again and again and again. I grow gardens in the front yard and the backyard, everywhere. And I have little neighbor teenagers, especially, who'll come and say, "What's that?" So, I bring them into the backyard and show them all the weird things I grow. I do grow Peruvian ground cherries, one of my very favorite things to eat. They are everywhere. And, it's just, thank you. I haven't been in a group that has combined my indigenous interest and the farming and the spirituality. And Starhawk, I've been to your circles many times over the years. You used to come to Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania, and do a circle. And so this is just what I have hungered for. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And a big thank you to Penny. And Penny and I actually started Earth Activist Training together. We were both at the big blockade in Seattle against the WTO in 1999, and we kind of came back and said, here's all these young activists, and they really want to change the world, and here's all these permaculturalists, and they have all these great solutions. We should put these things together. And we did.
We did.
And thank you to Lakota. You're such an inspiration to me, and I think to all of us. And I really just want to give you, big props for all the incredible work that you're doing and for your communities. And to Charles, as always, like we wouldn't be able to run this whole thing without you.
And to you, Star. Before we say thank you to everybody, I just want to remind folks that we have a holiday silent auction going on. So I'm going to make the pitch, and here's the pitch for our auction. There's amazing things that have been donated. I'm really kind of blown away by what all people have been donating through gifts and services and readings and healings and all sorts of just amazing things have been on that auction. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the auction, see if there's something that fits into your holiday plan, either for yourself or for somebody else. And all the proceeds from the auction are going directly to our scholarship fund, which this year, the focus of the fund continues to be on Indigenous people and people of color, but we also are making a real effort with refugees, asylum seekers, and people who are in war-torn regions. Our community, because we're online, we're actually reaching broadly, and there are a lot of folks in war-torn regions that are also part of, wanting to be part of our community and be in our classes, and it's a good way to bring them all in. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Star, but go check out the auction. I'll put the link back in the chat. And it's for a few more days, but not many more days. I think it ends on the 16th, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to put a link into Permaculture for Palestine, which is a new organization that some of us started this summer, especially one of our co-teachers in Europe, Alfred Decker, has been working a lot with refugees over the years. You can go there and find information about what's going on. There is a statement you can sign on to that a lot of us have signed about why this has some connection to permaculture and why we should be concerned about what's happening in Gaza and Palestine. And there's ways that we can offer some practical support to the people who are doing permaculture there and in neighboring regions. And I want to give a big thank you to our wonderful interpreters, Reese and Cecil. Done such a beautiful job of making this accessible. And to our Whole Earth Activist Training team. All the people do all the stuff behind the scenes that make this happen. And Charles, you honored the elements. Maybe you want to say thank you to them.
Sure. And I invite everybody to join also. And let's say thank you to Spirit and to Earth and to water, fire, and to air. All those things that feed us and our ability to be resilient and our communities to be resilient, to all the elements and to all of you. We say hail and farewell. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was really great. It's inspiring. Lakota, ditto what other people said. It was just so great to hear what you're doing up there and how it's being received. And Starhawk and Charles for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penny.
And Penny and I will both be at the, there's a pre-conference for the big Eco Farm conference down at Asilomar in January.
Yeah, and there's actually the guy who's talking about resilience, the guy who organizes it is a guy named Ken Foster. And he has been riding his bike from Santa Cruz down to Asilomar. He rides it. He actually has a whole landscaping company that is bicycle powered. They haul everything on bicycles Anyway, he's doing a fundraiser. I don't know how we can get that in anywhere, but if you, there's, maybe go to the Eco Farm, they might have something about him. But he's writing a book and he's doing a fundraiser, riding his bike. It's his 25th year of riding his bike from Santa Cruz to Asilomar.
Charles, you have a song to play us out with?
I do. I'm going to play us out with the same one we played in with because I think it's perfect for the moment.
All right.
Here's Resilience again.
I am resilient. I trust the movement. I negate the chaos. Uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. 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 These times are poignant. The winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out fronts. Yeah, I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point. Power to the peaceful, prayers to the waters, women at the center, all vessels open to give and receive. Let's see the system brought down to its knees.